At 13, I fled home after being called dead weight. I lived in shelters, worked any job, built my life. Imagine building your entire life, brick by painstaking brick, only to have the very people who abandoned you show up 2 decades later, not to apologize, but to demand you save them. And then, the ultimate betrayal, finding out they'd secretly forged your name to secure their own future, leaving you on the hook for their failures. What would you do when your past, steeped in injustice, came back to haunt you, not with regret, but with a horrifying new lie? My name's Caleb Mercer, I'm 29, and the first real thing I ever owned was a beat-up blue duffel bag. I was 13 when I bought it from a thrift store, and I still remember the plastic smell, the way the zipper snagged, and how that strap bit into my shoulder as I walked out of a house that only called itself a home because it had a wreath on the door at Christmas. You know how people say memory softens the edges? Mine didn't. My edges stayed sharp, like the cold kitchen tile the night my parents told me I was nothing but dead weight. Those were their exact words. Flat. Clinical. A diagnosis. Dead weight. I can still see my father's mouth shaping them. My mother's eyes flicking to the clock like she had somewhere better to be. I didn't argue. I'd learned early that arguing in that house just got you more volume. I was small, quiet, always trying to be useful, carrying groceries, raking the yard, balancing a chore list like a second backpack. But usefulness doesn't count for much when someone's decided you're a burden from the start. So I sipped that duffel, tucked in a flannel and a picture I'd torn from a magazine, an office building with a gleaming glass lobby, a front desk, and a man in a dark jacket holding a briefcase, looking like he belonged. Then I walked out into the 2 a.m. air, smelling of dust and distant diesel, thinking maybe belonging was something you could walk toward if you just kept moving. My family, the Mercers, looked tidy from the sidewalk. The lawn was mowed. The trash bins never lingered. We smiled tight in church. But if you stood there long enough, you'd see it, a little social gravity field around my sister Tessa, pulling every compliment to her like lint to a sweater. She was the golden one, the kind who sang 2 measures at a school assembly and came home with flowers. My father, Gregory, would beam at her until his face looked stretched. My mother, Mara, would press lipstick prints to Tessa's forehead and call her my star. And I would stand in the kitchen doorway, holding a science project made of paper clips and corks, the dishwasher humming, thinking maybe stars were just dots people agreed to point at. I wasn't bad. I wasn't brilliant. I took out the trash without being told. I kept my room neat. I read library books until the words blurred. But in our house, being harmless was the same as being in the way. If a glass got knocked, it was because I didn't move fast enough. Electric bill high? I must have left a light on. If my father's day wasn't what he wanted, my quiet at dinner felt like provocation. That word, dead weight, didn't arrive out of nowhere. It was built from 100 moments where I stood holding something heavy, watching the person who handed it to me walk away. The first hint that I was being measured on a tilted scale came when I was 8 and Tessa was 10. My father decided the family needed structure. He typed chore lists in bold, laminated them, and stuck them to the fridge with fruit magnets. Tessa's read things like wipe table, arrange magazines, choose dessert. Mine read like a maintenance manual, sweep garage, clean baseboards, rake, wash car, carry firewood, move boxes and attic. I didn't mind working. There's a clean kind of tired that feels good and puts you, and then, the part that shocked everyone, watch full story.